beautiful downtown Vancouver at the stadium at BC Place for tonight's game between the British Columbia Lions and the Calgary Stampeders. It's just over a half hour until game time. Time for the CFL Report pregame show to review last week's highlights, look ahead to week 3, and talk to the key players involved in tonight's matchup. Inside the Dome at the stadium at BC Place in Vancouver, and a crowd of about 25,000 expected for tonight's game between the British Columbia Lions and the Calgary Stampeders. Hi everybody, I'm Peter Watts. We welcome you to the BC Place Stadium. It's been a glorious day here in Vancouver. Looking forward to a good football game tonight between these two teams, both clubs looking for their first victory of the season. We're going to talk to a couple of key players, quarterback Matt Dunnigan in this half hour, along with offensive guard Dan Ferroni from the Calgary Stampeders. And we'll also visit Regina, where Ray Elgard and Jeff Fairholm are getting set for the Hamilton Ticats visit on Friday night at what should be a tremendous football game at Taylor Field. The BC Lions are for sale. They have been since last winter. There are some prospective suitors, despite the fact the team has a $9 million accumulated deficit. A little background before we meet the man in charge, Stu Kehoe. On the field, the BC Lions have been one of the CFL's most dominant teams in the decade of the 80s. Their record proves it. In the last 9 years, the Lions have been to 7 Western Finals and to 3 Grey Cup games. In '83, they lost the final to Toronto. In '85, they beat Hamilton for the second championship in the 34-year history of the franchise. Last season, they came just 1 completed pass away from winning their 3rd championship before losing to Winnipeg. Off the field, however, the Lions have been anything but successful. When they first moved into their new home at the BC Place Stadium back in '83, more than 44,000 fans packed the Dome every time the Lions played at home. That number has fallen off by 10,000 over the last 4 years. And in '87, the Lions were only averaging about 35,000 for each home game. The Lions fell upon hard times financially, too, losing millions of dollars each season due to poor attendance. Those are not the kind of statistics that any business needs to see. And so the Lions experimented with the concept of private ownership. People like Stephen Funk and Jim Pattison, heavyweight investors, put in bids to buy the team, so far to no avail. But a lot of good moves have been made in the last 4 or 5 months in order to save this community-owned franchise. And the good moves began with the hiring of Stu Kehoe as the Lions executive vice president on March 2nd.
Stampeders had 11 men up.
And Stu Kehoe joins me now. The best numbers from week 2 in the CFL was the attendance figures last Tuesday night here for the Saskatchewan game. It was a great crowd and it was a great football game, except maybe for the scoreboard.
Well, that's true too, but you're right, Peter. We had a it was a great ball game, and I think the fans that came and really enjoyed themselves. Unfortunately, we didn't win, but that's football, you know. So as long as the fans are coming out and enjoying, that's really what it's all about.
Bring us up to date on the ownership situation here in Vancouver. What is the latest?
Well, I believe the ownership situation will be probably rectified by next Monday. I think our board is going to sit down and decide which guy or which one of the prospective owners or buyers that they will sit and offer this ball club to, and I think that'll be settled by next Monday.
It's gone along very well, and you're confident that whoever takes over will have the wherewithal to give the team a solid footing, and let's see if we can't clean up the accumulated deficit?
Oh, I think that'll all be worked out. I know that, as I said, our president, Norm Fieldgate, has just worked hard at this, and he's done a very good job. And there's, 2 or 3 guys that are out there that want to buy this ball club, and will be good owners for the CFL and good owners for this ball club.
Well, there's no question that more and more fans seem to be coming to BC Place Stadium to see the Lions play, and that's always good news at the box office. But you have to find some more revenue sources for this football team, don't you? Not just to pay the bills currently, but again to clean up the mess that's been left over from the past.
Well, we're trying to get along with this year, and with the new fan interest, with the new support that we're getting, with the new fans turning out and coming out and seeing us again, that's really helping us. And you're right, we do have to go out and generate some more revenue. And that's one of the things we've been doing. We've been out and selling a lot of group sales. We're selling a bunch of signs around the stadium. And it's been coming. And the corporate support in the city has just been tremendous. They've been getting back behind this ball club. And I think we'll prove them that we can come on and do well. And as you know, there's a lot of clubs in the CFL that are struggling and trying to make the best of it. And if you take a look at Calgary and Ottawa, they've got good leadership down there in both clubs as well as here. I think that we're working hard to get into the black, and I think that will come.
54 stations in your radio network and all sold out for the year. The Hinterland can offer up a few fans too, coming in from Kamloops and some places like that.
Yes, the interest throughout the province has just been great. We've been getting calls throughout the province. The CKNW radio station just done a great job. In fact, when we made our decision to go over to NW, they sold out their program within 2 weeks. That tells you that the interest in football is not dead in this province. And I think that the way the fans have been turning out lately, I think you'll see that football will take off and get back to what it used to be.
Stu, you're doing a good job. Congratulations. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Stu Kehoe, Executive Vice President, the man in charge of the balance sheet with the British Columbia Lions. Things have looked a little gray for a while. They're looking a little better so far in '89. Well, there have been some football games played already in Week 3. Of course, one in Ottawa on Tuesday night. The Rough Riders came up on the short end of the scoreboard once again. This time, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers jumped into a 36-3 lead and coasted in with a 43-32 decision. The score in that ball game as Ottawa came back to make a game of it. Let's go back and review some highlights of a couple of games played in week number 2. Let's do that now. Wednesday night, Lansdowne Park in Ottawa. The Riders hosting Toronto. With an injury to starting quarterback Gil Renfro, John Kangemi gets the call for the Argonauts. And Kangemi completes 17 of 32 passes for 184 yards, including this 42-yard strike to Emmanuel Tolbert, which set up Toronto's second touchdown. Damon Allen had another big night for Ottawa, completing 19 of 39 passes for 327 yards. 27 of them came on this touchdown pass to Byron Williams early in the fourth quarter. Lance Chomik, who was 0 for 3 on the night in the early going, hit this 22-yard field goal late in quarter 4 to give the Argonauts an 18-17 lead. Then Chomik added another 41-yarder with 2 seconds to go on the clock as Toronto edged Ottawa 21-17. Thursday night, Ivor Wynne Stadium in Hamilton. The Tiger Cats at home to the Blue Bombers. Paul Osbaldiston, on the strength of 6 field goals and 3 singles, kicked 22 points as the Ticats beat the Bombers 28-22. Osbaldiston's 6 field goals ties a club record set by Bernie Ruoff in 1987. Derek McAdoo turned in another big performance for the second week in a row. He finished with 26 carries for 89 yards, including the game-winning touchdown late in the fourth quarter. Ticats win it 28-22. More still to come from the stadium at BC Place as we count down until the opening kickoff. Now just over 28 minutes away. It's the Lions and the Stampeders from the stadium at BC Place in Vancouver. Stay with us. We'll be right back. The teams just finishing off their pregame warm-up. We're about 26 minutes away from the kickoff between the Stampeders and the British Columbia Lions. Welcome to the stadium at BC Place in Vancouver. Sometimes I think there's too much coaching and too much film video replays in this league. Let the players play the game, because sometimes when they do, it was exciting. Like last Tuesday, right here at BC. Tuesday night, BC Place Stadium in Vancouver, Saskatchewan, and the Lions entertaining a big crowd. And quarterback Tom Burgess of the Riders picked up where he left off in Week 1 against Calgary. He tossed 5 touchdown passes as the Riders trumped the Lions 42-37. Don Narcisse had a big game for the green and white, catching 5 passes for 90 yards and a couple of touchdowns. This score gave Saskatchewan an 18-17 lead early in the second quarter. After a less than satisfactory showing in Week 1 in Edmonton, Matt Dunnigan got the BC offense on track. Dunnigan completed 32 of 44 passes for 448 yards and 4 touchdowns, including this 40-yard strike to his favorite receiver, Dave Williams, late in the contest. Williams had 3 touchdowns in the game, but this one was too little too late as the Riders win it 42-37.
Lion quarterback Matthew Dunnigan joins me now. Matthew, out there tonight, you're going to face an old teammate in Doug Landry. And how's that going to work out for you tonight?
Well, I've played with Tank in the past, and you know, I told the Eskimos about his talents when I played for them, and I tried to get him on my team because I can't stand playing against him because he's got a nose for the football. He's all over the place, and I'm sure he'll have at least a dozen tackles tonight, and I'll be included in some of those.
He'll know your style a little bit more intimately than some other linebackers in this league, I suppose.
He's been watching me do it, and I've been going up against him for a long time now, and we're like old buddies and close friends, and he's a talented player, and I'd like to get him in a BC Lion uniform.
Let's talk about the BC Lions, because you're looking for your first victory of the season here tonight. Not for the fact that you haven't put up some pretty good offensive numbers, particularly last week against Saskatchewan.
Well, we're in a position to put some numbers up because we're coming from behind. And so you'll see numbers like that fly up on the board, similar to what happened to Ottawa last night. And but we'd like not to be in a position like that tonight. We'd like to try to have a balanced attack overall, and go out there and put their hopes to rest early. Because if we give the Calgary Stampeders a ray of hope, you know, we're going to have a fight on our hands, and we're expecting that, so we're going to have to get on them early.
Thank you very much, Matthew. Have a good night today.
Thanks a lot.
Matt Dunnigan of the BC Lions. Let's look back to Week 2 in Canadian football and more action this time from Calgary McMahon Stadium as the Eskimos annihilated the Stampeders.
And 25
Friday night, McMahon Stadium in Calgary. Stampeders hosting Edmonton. And what was supposed to be the Battle of Alberta quickly turned into a stampede slaughter. The Eskimos scored 23 second-quarter points to take a 30-4 lead at halftime. And they never looked back, beating the Rough Riders 54-4. The Edmonton offense, led by Tracy Ham, scored almost at will. Ham hooked up with Stefan Jones for this 67-yard strike early in the third period to give the Eskimos a 37-4 advantage. Calgary quarterbacks Danny Barrett and Tom Porras didn't look much better than their defense did. They were unable to survive a vicious attack by the Eskimo front four, which sacked Barrett 5 times in the first half alone. That's the kind of night it was for Calgary. Make the final, Eskimos 54, Stampeders 4.
Does not want to be mistaken.
Dan Ferroni from the Calgary Stampeders joins us on the CFL Report. And Dan, after a tough loss last Friday night to the Eskimos, you only have 4 days to get ready for the game tonight. Now, is that good, or would you rather have a full week of practice to maybe work out some of the problems?
Well, actually, I'd like to see 18 games in 18 days, and let's call it a season. No, actually, as far as the preparation time, Edmonton threw so many things at us, and I guess we would call that a practice last week against Edmonton, that really BC couldn't surprise us with anything else. It was a short week, but it was a good week. We tried to keep the spirits high and get ready for the big game tonight.
You know, I know you were tremendously shocked when the Argonauts left you unprotected last spring in the equalization draft. Now, are you bitter with the Argos, or was it a chance for you to kind of rekindle your interest with a change of scenery?
Well, you know, at first you kind of wonder what they were doing or anything like that, but I really do. I understand what they attempted to do. They thought they could sneak me through, and it didn't work. And thank goodness Calgary thought enough of me to take me. Boy, I've had nothing but fun here in Calgary. It's been a great time. The people are great. We got to win some games, and it'll make the whole situation that much better.
Well, let's talk about the team now. In your 8 years with Toronto, you had some good teams, some not so good teams. How do you assess the talent on the Calgary Stampeders right now? Can you be competitive?
Well, you know, I couldn't go to work every day if I didn't think the team could be competitive, and that's what we're trying to do. It's early in the season. We've only played 2 games. We got 16 more to go, so we're working hard to keep it competitive. I think we have the talent. Maybe 1 or 2 players would help the team, and we could go all the way. But, you know, it's like I said, it's a long way to go. Take 1 game at a time and do the best every time we're out there.
Danny, it's always a pleasure to chat with you. Have a great game tonight.
Thank you very much, Leif.
Okay, Peter.
18 games in 18 days, eh? Nice schedule if you can handle it, but I think we're going to play them one at a time. 21 minutes to go till the kickoff to this game. Calgary against the BC Lions. And stay with us. The CFL, this report continues in just a moment. Welcome back to the stadium at BC Place. We're just under 20 minutes now to the kickoff of this game between the British Columbia Lions and the Calgary Stampeders. Still ahead in Week 3, we've got Edmonton at Toronto on Thursday night, and then we've got Hamilton at Saskatchewan on Friday. That'll be a great football game as the Ticats try and deal with this very potent Saskatchewan Rough Rider offense. Winnipeg and BC stole the spotlight last season when the 2 teams staged a brilliant performance in the 76th Grey Cup Championship game in Ottawa. But as is usually the case in most big games, there are always understudies waiting in the wings, waiting for that one chance to shine. 89 just might be that year for the Hamilton Ticats and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. The Ticats finished the 88th season at 500 at 9-9 record, good enough for second spot in the Eastern Division. Their season came to an abrupt halt, though, in the Eastern semifinal when they lost to the eventual Grey Cup champion Blue Bombers. Over on the west side, the Rough Riders finished last season with an impressive 11-7 mark, good enough for a tie for top spot with Edmonton in the West Division. They made the playoffs for the first time in 11 years, but their season came to an end in the Western semifinal when they were blown out by the British Columbia Lions. Both Saskatchewan and Hamilton have picked up where they left off last season, something last year's 2 top teams haven't been able to do so far. In the first 2 weeks of this season, Hamilton has scored 52 points and posted almost 800 yards of offense, en route to a perfect 2-0 record, good enough for first place in the East Division. Saskatchewan, same story. The Western Riders have found the end zone 8 times in 2 games and lead the league in scoring with 74 points. Their 2-0 record ties the always powerful Edmonton Eskimos for first place in the West. Friday night, Taylorfield and Regina. These 2 understudies from last season get their own chance in the spotlight in '89. It's a battle of the undefeated, the Rough Riders, against the Tiger Cats. Joining us now from their locker room at Taylorfield and Regina, slotbacks Ray Elgard and Jeff Fairholm. And Ray, let me begin with you. After the great season culminating in the Shenley last year and a more diversified passing attack this season, what kind of goals have you set?
No, I don't think it's a very good idea to try and size yourself up and kind of project what you think you ought to be doing this year. I think the reason the team had success last year is everyone just kept working hard, and I think that's should be the recipe for how to continue that success, is not to worry about what your numbers are, but just to go out and keep playing hard and try and win games.
After all of the down years, what did it mean for you to play on a team that finally made the playoffs at Taylorfield last year?
I don't know if anyone's knocking on the door for a championship. We've only played 2 games. It's a long season, but, you know, last year was definitely the high point of my career as far as, you know, being with a team that won more games than it lost and made the playoffs and generated some excitement in the province that they're playing in. And, you know, the way it feels so far this year is we got to have that same feeling, but, you know, if you let that kind of take over your thoughts, then, you know, it's not going to work out as good. So, you know, I think what we have to do, like I said, is just not worry about those kind of things and just go play football.
Jeff, you put up some great numbers last year as a rookie. You were a Shenley runner-up. What do you do for an encore in '89?
I just hope to, you know, match my numbers last year, but like Ray said, you can't go into the season hoping to match or exceed anything you did the previous year, because you get all boggled up and trying to get some numbers as opposed to just trying to get the wins. You just got to keep you take one game at a time, and if you get the catches and the touchdowns, great, and if not, don't worry about it as long as you keep winning the games.
You got a chance to learn from one of the best, the guy sitting alongside of you there. What kind of a relationship do you have with Ray Elgard? Is it highly competitive? Is it father and son? Can you go to him for some help when you need it? Tell us about it. What is it like?
No, we're not in competition. We're on opposite sides of the ball. If I have a problem, it's usually me who has a problem. I'm the younger guy, you know, with some coverages or having to get open against some people. Ray's always there to help me, and I'm not afraid to go up to him and ask him. And I just I just watch him. I try to emulate some things he does and try to do some things better. You know, it all depends on what that thing is.
Thanks, guys. It'll be a great football game Friday night. Hamilton at Saskatchewan. Well, the Welsh Youth Brass Band, all the way from Wales, here to play in the pregame show. And we will take a break. The CFL Report on TSN, live from the stadium at BC Place, continues after this. The CFL Report live from the stadium at BC Place, and the fans filing in to watch the Lions and the Calgary Stampeders do battle here this evening. Well, Marty Adler was 2 for 3 in his picks last week, and we're going to have to let Leif Pettersson go first one of these times. But Marty's up first once again to try and pick some winners in week number 3.
Well, John, first game we're going to talk about is the one on TSN tonight. The Calgary Stampeders heading into BC Place to take on the Lions. I was just thinking how ridiculous the fans in Calgary looked last week when they all showed up wearing those Normie Kwong masks. I mean, you know, you just don't do that. You look too funny. Well, I got a tip for all those fans in Calgary. What you've got to do is go to your local supermarket and you buy one of these, you know. You don't even have to pay. It's 2 cents, you know. This is what you've got to wear the next time you're rooting for Calgary. One of these paper bags so nobody knows who you are. Because that's exactly how I feel about this team right now. They're the worst team in the CFL. They're taking on one of the best teams, the British Columbia Lions. BC last week, okay, I know they were upset by Saskatchewan by a score of 42-37. But this team, their offense is terrific. Their defense is going to get turned around tonight. And that's why we're making this one BC favored by 14, and I think they will cover. And this game is going to go over 48 points. Next game up, Edmonton 2-0 going into Toronto. Now, Toronto in their 2 games, they were upset against Hamilton. They did not look impressive. They beat Ottawa. They did not look impressive. But I'll tell you, this game is going to be a lot closer than a lot of you think. Even though Edmonton blew out Calgary last week by 50 points, beating them by 50, they've got a lot of firepower and a lot of strong defense. It's going to be close. Edmonton is favored by 3 in this game. Edmonton will win, and it'll be over 51 points. You're going to see a lot of firepower here. Last game up, Hamilton going into Saskatchewan. This is probably the best game of the week. Both teams are 2-0. Both teams were dark horses at the beginning of the season, and both teams now lead their respective divisions. The one thing here is that for Saskatchewan, you cannot live you're going to live and die by the trick plays. They may help you in some games. They're going to hurt you in other games. This will end up to be a kickers game, and the kickers will decide the game. That's why we're taking Saskatchewan, favored by 2.5, to cover and go over 49 points. What do you think of that, John and Leaf?
Okay, week 3, and far be it from me to bring up the records of our 2 predictors here on the CFL Report. I won't. But Marty is 50%, and you're moving in on your second.
And I'm closing in. I'm starting off slowly and closing in. You know, Marty, I tell you what, he has never looked better than when he put that bag on his head. Now, if he could only do the show like that every week, it would be perfect. People would sleep at night when they see him with the bag. They won't scare him anymore.
All right. Let's see how Leaf looks at what Marty has picked. Marty likes the Edmonton Eskimos by 3 points and picks Edmonton over Toronto tomorrow, and I kind of agree that there are going to be a lot of points scored in this one.
Well, I think there might be. I think the real key in this game, John, is the fact that Edmonton has so many blitzes. Donnie Matthews, of course, the defensive coordinator now this year, and they make it so difficult for an offensive line, and of course, that's maybe the one area of the Toronto Argonauts that concerns them the most. Now, they played well in their first 2 games, but the ultimate test will be tomorrow night at the Sky Dome. Edmonton favored by 3. I like Toronto. I've been on the bandwagon for about 3 years now, so I'm going to take the 3 points and go with John Kangemi. This will be his second start. He's going to do well. The offense is about to open up, and tomorrow night will be the night.
Argo offense definitely do. We'll see how they do tomorrow and how Leaf and Marty do in that one. Now, here's a good game. 2 unbeaten teams. Hamilton at Saskatchewan, and Marty says Saskatchewan by 2.5, and he picks Saskatchewan Friday night.
Well, I think Marty's analysis of this game is exactly right on. It's going to be a kicking thing that will decide this game. Dave Ridgway and Paul Osbaldiston, 2 very good kickers, and although 2.5 points in Taylor Field, I think Regina's going to win the game. I have no problem with that, but I think it's going to be a little less than 2.5, maybe 1 or 2. I'm going to take the 2.5 points. Go with Al Bruno. I know I may put the jinx on him. I never pick Hamilton, but I'm going to take the 2.5 with Hamilton. So once again, I'm head-to-head with Marty.
Well, you had a tough one there because you played for both those teams. I mean,
well, yeah, that's a tough pick for me. I know you like Regina. I don't have to ask you who you like in that one.
All right, Calgary and BC, the one we have for you on TSN here tonight. The Lions by 14, says Marty Adler, and he says bet the BC Lions.
Well, you know, on paper, as you look at this game, it's not a great matchup. He gives 14 points to the BC Lions. I mean, that is a lot of points, but Marty, I hate to do it, but I kind of agree with you. Calgary last in the league offensively, last in the league defensively, BC first in offense. So, you know, that's kind of the match and mix-up that I think could produce a lopsided win. 14 points. I'm going to go with Marty and give the 14, and we'll see what happens.
All right, let's roll it in right now and give a quick recap of what we have picked for you for week number 3. It looks like Marty and Leaf will disagree on a couple more this week, but there's you're both going with the BC Lions there, so you may get lucky this week.
I hope I do a little better this week. Marty, keep the bag. It looks good on you.
All right, let's send it downstairs to Peter Watts once more. Pete.
Okay, guys, thank you very much. Leaf's going to catch Marty eventually, but it may not happen this week. It should be a great football game here tonight. You know, last Tuesday night, Saskatchewan and BC combined for 79 points here. I'd settle for 79 points again, but I hope if we get that many, that it's a balanced 79, and we get the kind of finish we had in the game last week. It's Calgary and the British Columbia Lions coming up next from the stadium at BC Place. And a reminder that local blackouts do apply, so please check the listings in your area. Next week's CFL Report will come to you from Winnipeg, where we've got Saskatchewan and the Blue Bombers. For now, I'm Peter Watts for John Wells and Leaf Pedersen.